Hello, Emily. Thank you for joining. Just a little bit of context for people listening in or watching on socials. We met, I think, like 3 years ago, almost. Like
Yeah.
time flies. It was like 20 end of 2022 when we started working together on digital transformation for BB&R. First, we didn't work like closely together, but then our paths crossed, and we worked a little bit on the Adobe Commerce implementation for the BB&R and on a couple of other activities. So yeah, thank you a lot for coming in. Maybe you want to tell people a little bit about your story with BB&R.
Yeah, so I have been working for BB&R for a little while now. I originally sort of started with them as a bit of a contract role. I was just doing maternity cover. And then this transformation project came about that you're familiar with. And I took up the role as a product owner there. It sounded like something really exciting to get involved in, completely transforming all of the kind of products and solutions for a very old business. So I sort of took that, and it's been a few years down the line, and we're kind of nearing the end of that program now.
Exciting. Yeah, it's actually it is kind of one of my favorite projects, if not the favorite one. The scope of this program is like just tremendous. We have a lot of people working on it. We have like product information and digital experience and everything, which is pretty cool. But also you mentioned like doing the digital transformation for pretty old company, and I think old is not all it is. I think BB&R, Barry Bros. And Rod, as a company, has centuries of heritage behind it, yet it remains relevant and respected across cultures and markets today. So basically, when you like the influence on the wine market, and also you started as a coffee company, right? So the
Yeah.
influence, the cultural meaning of that company cannot be overstated. And on the personal level, how do you experience and carry forward this cultural legacy in your day-to-day work? What does it mean to work for the company like that?
Yeah. So BB&R's legacy is something to feel proud of. And I think that a lot of people in the business very much feel that way. I mean, as you've touched upon, it's not just about the age of the business. We are over 300 years old, but it's about the consistent sort of values that have stood the test of time within the business as well.
Right.
There's a real dedication to quality. So, not only just quality of the product, but the service that we offer our customers. There's a deep respect for our customers. We have some fantastic relationships that we've built over the years, those kind of partnerships. And also a sense of kind of, I suppose, global curiosity, perhaps, but we also balance that with our kind of British character, which I think very much kind of comes through. Um, and I think so. If I look back at how that works on my sort of day to day work, so I think especially looking at the rebuild program, because as you know, it's almost about taking everything apart and putting it back together again. Um, and I think part of that is to try to really honor the legacy by kind of balancing innovation to be in the now, but also taking care alongside that. So for example, it might be that looking at customer experience online, you have to be mindful of preserving the kind of sense of personal service and that timelessness of BB&R, of which we're kind of known for, but also making sure that we have things in place like site accessibility, making sure it's relevant, so relevant to maybe an international audience as well as a local one, but also thinking about that really digital savvy audience that we know is going to come through the ranks and that kind of expectation of the younger generation.
Yeah, and that's definitely like I think that's a huge opportunity, but also like huge responsibility to like from Spider-Man, right? With the with the big what is the quote there? something along those lines about responsibility and kind
Yeah,
of
great power becomes great
yeah,
responsibility. Yeah.
exactly. And I think that the thing that you mentioned about younger generation, like eventually becoming BB&R clients and kind of not only like retail clients but also like loyal customers, I think is something that, and bringing those experiences that you carry through centuries to them as well, not being like next TikTok shop or whatnot shop, but really being you as a brand, but also serving their needs as they grow up and kind of meet their expectations where they are, but also where you are as a brand. I think this is
Yeah.
very, very important.
And I think it's that sense of, not tying BB&R to a certain geography or a certain area. It kind of travels, it connects. And I think, part of the role is to make sure, and the responsibility is that that sense of kind of history and sophistication comes across. So in everything that we build. So even if that's a bit of UX copy or it's a new feature that we're investing in, that needs to kind of remain key to that.
Commerce has always been a bridge between worlds. Economic epicenters of the world have disproportional impact on the world compared to their physical size. And I think BB&R is one example of that successful economic story, which brings culture into the world. And obviously, you are not only UK business, you are also international. So my question, and maybe you can elaborate on that, in your work, but also around you, what you see in the business when doing kind of international commerce, what kind of culture BB&R brings to the table?
If you look at our products we sell, wine is obviously our big product. And it's quite a unique product if you think about it, because it's not just a drink. It carries stories. It carries stories of a place, a time, of people. And I think whilst being at BBR, you can see how sort of firsthand wine can be kind of deeply emotional as a connector. And I don't think that's just within the culture in the UK. I think that's across many cultures. Um, and yeah, and so that very much comes across as it's not just a product to take away and have with your meal in the evening. I think we're particularly lucky where we are, because we get to engage with our customers quite a bit. We have a really loyal customer base, and as a result, we get the opportunity to do things like focus groups and feedback. And through that, and through my time at Berries, I've seen lots of that kind of feedback from customers. Sometimes it's videos, sometimes it's a bit of copy. But I think the kind of stories that come through is it's a generational thing. It's something that somebody else has introduced them to, and that might be somebody that's no longer with us, or it might be somebody that's newly introduced them to us. But I think ultimately what that does is it makes that product more than just a product. A lot of the time it's about reconnecting perhaps with a memory or a time. And then that's when you kind of realize that a company like Berries doesn't just sell wine. It connects people to stories, it connects people to traditions, and it can also connect people to emotions, both happy and sad. Um,
Yeah,
and I think that when you realize that, it reminds you that the kind of global commerce angle isn't just about being transactional, it's also about being cultural as well. So, it's about understanding that our customers, wherever they are in the world, are looking for and kind of seeking out more than just a product. They are looking for meaning, they are looking for quality and value, for something that stands apart from everything else. And I think that's where we're lucky that our heritage, but also having that human approach, really makes all the difference.
what was the most surprising like piece of feedback you got from the international audience about your experience that you bring, that they gave feedback that you thought, okay, we never heard that from people in our usual, like, let's say UK market, our domestic market, but here that is very important for people, and this is kind of feedback we got, and this is how we maybe changed our digital experience as well.
Yeah, I think there's not one particular experience, but I think it's more about learning the cultures and the countries that you're going into. So the remit of my work is mostly kind of UK, but due to our customer base, they may also have addresses in Asia or in America or that kind of thing. And I think what's important to learn is how wine's perceived. And obviously, we've talked about the fact that it is a unique product. It does have that kind of emotional connection, but also it's thinking about where it kind of sits. So for some people, it might be something to enjoy with a meal. For others, it may be a bit more of that showy piece. So, when you're looking at some of the price points in some of our products, it's almost a status. So for some countries, it's a status, and some I remember seeing a documentary a couple of years ago about wine in the kind of American market, and the main difference there was that they don't drink it. They have it as a collector item. And that's almost probably bizarre to some people in the UK. They collect their wine to enjoy it, or they buy
Right.
their wine to then drink it with their friends and family. And so that's a completely different mindset. But the drive is still there, and they still want the product from us, and they still want that quality and that value, even though they're not planning to open the bottle. So I think just really understanding how different
The
cultures and different
intent.
countries want that, then obviously it should
Yeah.
impact how you promote
Mm.
that and how you make that accessible online.
Point of luxury is not actually the product, but actually the feeling invokes, because it is luxury. It is something you cannot afford, like just every day. You kind of treasure that experience as well. And I think this is part of what BB&R brings. And we work with you. Basically, I know that there are a lot of kind of products on your website that are really affordable, like drink now products, right? But also there are pieces that you almost like enjoy, that you can afford them. And I think this is a whole separate piece of experience, which is very, very important.
Yeah, and it's about being aspirational, isn't it? So
Yeah.
not just berries, but I think you can see it with a lot of brands that maybe their price marker's higher and they're in that luxury sector, where you have the entry level. You bring it in to get people part of your world, part of your community, and hooked, so that when they maybe progress or they get older or they have the funds to do so, they can start moving up the ladder. And I think again, that's the same, but ultimately at the heart of it, it's usually triggered by something emotional. There's something about the community that people want to be part of, and being part of somewhere like Berries, you get the opportunity to get exposed to wines and ports and things that never in my life would I think that I would try a sip of something, or have the opportunity to experience that and hear a
Right.
master of wine talk about all of the kind of qualities and attributes of that wine and how it's gone from grape and where it's been sat. And that's the kind of element that I suppose is always going to be the challenge with an online store, isn't it? That how do you get that across?
Mm.
um,
Yeah.
and make it more than just about the product. So I think again it just comes back to, yes, at the end of the day it's a product, it's wine, but what is it that's going on behind the scenes that's drawing people to that product, and how can we start people in that? And as you said, if that's that kind of more affordable drink now, hopefully new clients and customers to us get that experience of this is quality. I can see the value in it, and I get this whole education behind it that makes me feel more confident about my next purchase. And then you don't know where that's going to lead as a customer down the line.
Mm. Love it. Emily, thank you a lot for your takes on that. I think this is really, really great in the world where everything is the same. Businesses like Berry Brothers, they stand out, and they show us an example of what truly cultural, meaningful commerce can be. And I think this is very, very important in the world of Amazon and 500 phone cases that are the same but from different manufacturers. Thank you a lot for the conversation. My name is Alex. I'm doing digital e-commerce. I can help you grow. Today we had Emily as our guest. Emily, thank you very much. And yeah, till next time. Cheers.
Until then, thanks very much.